Captain Elias Ward had seen many strange worlds in his years of exploring, but nothing prepared him for the day he was dragged in chains before the throne of the Scifi Empire. His wrists were bound by glowing cuffs, cold against his skin, and alien guards pushed him forward with long spears that hummed with energy. The grand chamber was vast, lit by floating crystals, and hundreds of alien eyes watched in silence. At the far end of the chamber sat Princess Serenia, ruler of the empire, in her father's absence. Her tall frame was wrapped in silver robes, her eyes sharp and glowing faintly with the mark of her royal blood. When she looked at Elias, it was not curiosity in her gaze, but pure disgust. "This human," Serenia declared, her voice echoing across the chamber, "has trespassed into the sacred skies of the Scifi. By our law, the penalty is death." The court murmured in agreement. Some laughed softly, others hissed. Elias lifted his head, meeting her gaze. His heart raced, but he would not bow. "I did not trespass," Elias said, his voice steady though his throat was dry. "My ship was damaged. I was searching for help." His words were met with sharp laughter from the court. One advisor stepped forward, his long fingers clasped together. "Lies. Humans always lie. He has come to steal, to spy, to corrupt." Elias clenched his jaw. He knew arguing was pointless. The Scifi had never trusted humans. To them, humans were weak, short-lived creatures, undeserving of respect. Still, he refused to beg. Princess Serenia raised her hand, silencing the chamber. "Enough. The law is clear. He shall be executed at dawn." A wave of fear ran through Elias's chest, but he kept his face calm. He had always known exploring beyond charted stars carried risks. If this was his end, he would face it with dignity. The guards dragged him back to his cell, a small chamber of dark stone and glowing bars. As the heavy door closed, Elias finally allowed himself to breathe. His heart pounded in his ears. Execution. At dawn, he had less than one cycle to live, yet something bothered him. During the trial, he had noticed the way some of the guards looked at him, not with hatred but with hesitation. He remembered one alien whispering to another, their eyes shifting nervously. Why? What was it about him that made them uncertain? Elias leaned against the wall, staring at the strange glowing script etched into the stone. He had faced death before, but this was different. Alone, deep inside enemy territory, he had no plan, no allies, and no escape. Hours passed in silence until the sound of footsteps broke through. The cell door slid open, and an older alien with pale skin and heavy robes entered. His eyes were deep and thoughtful. "You are calm for a man who faces death," the elder said in a slow, careful tone. Elias lifted his head. "I've seen enough. Battles to no panic doesn't help." The elder studied him for a long moment. "Strange. The way you stood in the chamber, it reminded me of something." His eyes narrowed as if trying to recall an old memory. "But no. It is not possible." Before Elias could ask, the elder turned and left without another word. The guards shut the door again, leaving Elias in the dark. Sleep was impossible. His mind kept circling the same thoughts. Why had the elder looked at him with such confusion? Why had some guards hesitated? None of it mattered now, he told himself. Tomorrow he would die. When dawn came, Elias was dragged back to the chamber of judgment. The throne room was even more crowded than before. Nobles and soldiers filled the hall, eager to see the human's end. Princess Serenia sat tall, her face hard as stone. "Bring the human forward," she commanded. Elias walked with steady steps, refusing to let them see fear. He stood at the center of the chamber as the guards raised their weapons. "Do you have any last words, human?" Serenia asked coldly. Elias's throat tightened. He thought of Earth, of his family long gone, of the stars he had crossed. At last he said, "If death is my fate, I will face it. But know this, humans do not die in silence. Our stories remain." long after we are gone." A hush fell over the court. For a brief moment, even Serenya's eyes flickered with something, doubt, perhaps, or curiosity, but she quickly raised her hand. "Then let it be done." The guard stepped forward. Energy. Blades hissed to life. Elias closed his eyes, ready for the end. And then, the great doors of the chamber burst open with a crash. Gasps echoed through the hall as two young figures rushed inside. They were children, their skin a lighter shade of the Zirathi, their eyes wide with fear. "Stop!" one cried out. Her voice was trembling yet clear. "Do not hurt him!" The other ran straight past the guards, tears streaming down her face. She threw herself at Elias, clinging to his leg. "Father!" she cried. The hall erupted into chaos. Nobles shouted, guards froze, and whispers filled the air like a storm. Elias stood frozen, his heart pounding. He stared down at the girl, clutching him, then at the other who had rushed to his side. Princess Serenia rose from her throne, her face pale with shock. What is this?" she demanded, her voice shaking for the first time. The children turned to her, their tears shining in the crystal light. "Mother," the older one said, pointing at Elias with trembling hands, "don't hurt him. Please, he is our father." The chamber fell into stunned silence, and Elias, who had been ready to die, now stood at the center of a mystery deeper than anything he had. The hall of the Zirathi Empire was silent, except for the sounds of sobbing and whispers. Captain Elias Ward still stood frozen, his heart pounding faster than it had ever done in his life. Two young Zirathi girls clung to him, their small hands gripping his arms as if he were the only anchor in a world suddenly turned upside down. Princess Serenia, seated high on her throne, rose to her full height. Her eyes, sharp and glowing, swept over Elias and then to the children. "What madness is this?" she demanded, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and anger. "These children, how dare you call this human your father?" The elder, advisors behind her, whispered urgently. Some shook their heads, others stepped closer, pressing against each other for support. One of the advisors, a tall Zirathi with a long, braided crest, spoke in a voice that was almost a hiss. "Your Highness, this is impossible. Humans are not. They cannot." Serenia cut him off with a gesture. "Silence. I will hear the truth myself." The younger girl, no older than 8 cycles, buried her face against Elias's chest and sobbed, "Mother, please, don't hurt him. He is our father. You promised." Her voice shook, and every word carried a strange authority, as if it came not just from a child, but from someone older and stronger. The older girl, maybe 12 cycles, stepped forward, her eyes blazing. "You have to believe us, Mother. He is our father. I have seen him in dreams. He saved me. He held me when the sky burned. He is not a human we must fear. He is our family." Elias looked down at the girls, astonished. He had never met them before in his life. Their words, their certainty, it made no sense. Yet he could feel the truth in their eyes, a strange, undeniable bond. He knelt slowly, so he was closer to their height. I don't understand," Elias said, his voice soft. "I've never met you before. I'm not your father. I swear it." The younger girl shook her head violently, tears streaming. "No, you are. You are. We knew you would come. We felt you across the stars." A wave of tension rippled through the court. Guards exchanged nervous glances, nobles whispered. Even Serenia's usually unshakable expression faltered. Her mind raced, trying to reconcile the impossible. How could her daughters, her children, claim a human was their father? "Enough," she barked. "Stop this nonsense at once." But the girls did not stop. They reached for Elias again, their hands gripping him tighter. "Mother," the older one said, stepping closer to Serenia, "listen to your heart. You know it is true. He is ours. We have never been wrong about this." Serenia's hands trembled as she gripped the edge of her throne. She had always believed humans to be weak, short-lived, and unworthy of her respect. And yet here they were, her children, pleading for the life of a human, calling him their father. Something deep inside her stirred, a flicker of doubt she could not ignore. The elder advisor who had spoken before stepped forward, his voice cautious. "Your Highness, there is an old prophecy, long forgotten by many. It speaks of heirs who will recognize a guardian from beyond the stars. A human, not by birth but by fate. Perhaps this is what we see." The room went silent again. Even the whispers seemed to vanish. Elias looked up at the elder, his eyes narrowing. "Prophecy?" he asked. "I've never known of any prophecy. I've only traveled the stars trying to survive, not to fulfill some legend." The elder's gaze was steady. "Legends often hide truths. Perhaps the fates have led you here, Captain Ward. Perhaps your life is intertwined with these children in ways none of us understand." The words hung heavy in the air. Elias felt a strange shiver run down his spine. The children's insistence, the elder's solemn tone, the hesitation of the guards, all pointed to something beyond logic. Princess Serenya's mind whirled. She had fought against human prejudice her whole life. She had believed they were weak, fleeting, and incapable of the strength her daughters were born with. And yet, the way her children clung to him, the certainty in their voices, it was more powerful than any law, any rule, any teaching she had ever known. "Bring me the records of the family," she commanded, her voice steadier now, though still trembling. "Every record of my lineage, every record of this human, I will know the truth." 2 guards hurried out, leaving Elith, the child. The grand hall of the Zirathi Empire was quiet after the commotion of the previous day. Captain Elias Ward had been given a small room near the throne chamber, guarded at all times. The girls, the princess's daughters, had refused to leave his side, insisting that their father must not be alone. Elias did not understand it, but he allowed it, feeling the strange comfort of their presence. Princess Serenia summoned him later that day. The room she led him into was smaller than the throne chamber, but filled with scrolls, glowing crystal tablets, and records of the empire that stretched back centuries. The air smelled of incense and metal, a combination unique to Zirathi palaces. "Sit," Serenia commanded, her voice firm but not unkind. She gestured to a chair opposite her. Elias sat carefully, still guarded, but trying to appear calm. The girls hovered near him, their eyes wide, still full of hope. "You have a choice, human," Serenia began. "You can speak the truth or you can continue lying. I will know either way." Elias swallowed. "I am telling the truth. I do not know you, your children, or this empire. I am only a traveler. My only wish is to survive and understand why my life has brought me here." The princess studied him, her eyes narrowing. "Then perhaps the truth is more complicated than I imagined." She waved to one of the elders, who stepped forward and placed a crystal tablet on the desk. Images flickered to life, showing a scene that made Elias's heart skip. The tablet displayed visions of a distant battlefield, a star burning in the background, and 2 young girls running through fire toward a tall figure. Him. Elias's mind reeled. He had never seen these places, never fought on this battlefield, and yet the images felt familiar, as if memory itself were reaching across space and time. The elder spoke, his voice calm but heavy with meaning. "These visions are recorded by the dream seers of the Zirathi. They are not lies, nor are they illusions. They show events that will come to pass or truths hidden from ordinary eyes. The children see you as their father because the seers have recognized you." Elias shook his head. "I do not understand. How could they recognize me? I have never met them before. I am a stranger to this world." The elder's eyes softened. "Stranger, perhaps, but not random. There is a prophecy, old and almost forgotten, that speaks of a human who will protect the heirs of the empire. It says that the human's courage and wisdom will guide the empire through darkness. The children have seen this in visions, and their souls have recognized yours." Elias tried to steady his racing mind. You mean, I'm chosen? That humans have a place in your world by destiny? Serenya's voice cut in sharply. Do not be foolish. You may be involved, but that does not make you anything more than a stranger in my empire. The law still applies. You cannot simply claim a prophecy as protection. The girls cried out, their voices small but insistent. Mother, he is not just a stranger. He is our father. You have to trust us. Serenya's face softened for a brief moment. She studied her daughters, remembering the first time they had been born, the quiet nights she had spent holding them, teaching them, loving them. And now, in their eyes, she saw a strength, a certainty she could not ignore. Something had changed within her. She felt a flicker of understanding. Perhaps humans were not as weak as she had believed. Perhaps this one human, Elias Ward, carried something special. The elder continued, ignoring her hesitation. The seers have seen humans in other worlds. They are brief-lived, yes, but they carry a spark. Something the Scifi cannot measure. Courage, determination, ingenuity. These qualities appear in the human you see before you. That is why the children recognize him. That is why they call him father. Elias looked at the girls who clung to his arms. Their eyes shone with faith he had never known. And for the first time, he understood a truth he had never considered. Humans, though fragile and short-lived, carried strength in ways that could influence worlds and destinies far beyond their own. Serenya's gaze returned to him, sharp and piercing. If this is true, she said slowly, then why are you here, human? Why appear in my empire, in my court, at the moment the prophecy would seem to demand? Elias shook his head. I do not know. I was searching for resources, for repair, for survival. I never sought prophecy, never sought recognition. I only followed the stars. Serenya paused, her eyes searching his. She saw no lies. She saw only a man who had faced impossible odds and still stood. Perhaps there was truth in the visions, perhaps not. But one thing was clear. The children's faith was not misplaced. They had chosen him for reasons beyond reason, and their lives were bound to his in a way she could not deny. The elder stepped back. You must understand, human, that this path is not simple. There are many who will oppose you, who will challenge your right to live, to protect these children. The court will not easily accept prophecy over law. Elias nodded slowly. Then I must earn their trust, not rely only on prophecy. I will do what I can to protect them, to survive, and to help. Serenya leaned back in her chair. Then, you will remain here under guard. You will meet with the children, you will explain yourself, and you will answer questions. And perhaps there is more to this than I have realized. The girls gasped and clung to Elias more tightly. He smiled faintly, feeling a strange warmth at the sound of their joy. He did not understand it all yet, but he knew one thing. He had been given a chance to survive, a chance to protect, and a chance to show the Scifi that humans were more than they believed. As he left the chamber, escorted by guards, Elias felt the weight of destiny pressing down on him. The prophecy, the visions, the children's recognition, they were not things he had sought. But perhaps in a universe filled with uncertainty and danger, they were exactly what he needed. Outside the chamber, the wind of the alien city swept across the floating platforms and glowing spires. Elias looked at the horizon, at the stars that stretched beyond the Scifi Empire, and whispered to himself, if this is fate, then I will meet it, whatever it brings. The children ran alongside him, their laughter breaking through the attention. For the first time in his life, Elias felt a spark of hope, not only for survival but for connection, for purpose, and perhaps for something greater than himself. And in the shadows of the palace, eyes watched. Some were curious, some suspicious, and some full of fear. Elias did not know it yet, but the event set in motion today would change the empire forever. The bonds between human and Scifi children had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. The sun rose over the floating spires of the Scifi capital, casting long golden beams across the city. Captain Elias Ward had spent the night in a small room near the throne chamber, talking quietly with the princess's daughters. They told him stories of their lives, their dreams, and the visions that had shown them a human guiding them through danger. Elias listened, learning not only about their world but about the strange bond that seemed to exist between them and him. Despite the impossibility of it, he felt responsible for these children. If anything happened to them, he would never forgive himself. Outside, the empire was buzzing with whispers. The news of the princess's daughters calling a human their father had spread quickly. Nobles and soldiers discussed it in hushed voices, some fearful, some curious, and some furious. To some it was scandalous. To others it was a sign of change. Princess Serenia moved through the halls, her mind heavy with concern. She had always been strong, firm in her rule, and wary of human weakness. But now, watching her daughters cling to Elias with such certainty, she could not ignore the possibility that the prophecy, or whatever strange fate had brought him here, might hold truth. Yet not everyone in the court agreed. Whispering factions began to form, questioning her judgment and openly criticizing her decisions. Some saw the human as a threat, others as a tool. The balance of power in the empire teetered, and rebellion began to simmer beneath the surface. Elias knew he had to act carefully. Every step he took, every word he spoke could have consequences, yet he also knew that the children needed him, and that protecting them was more important than fear. During the day, he spent time with the girls in the palace gardens. They laughed as he tried to teach them games from Earth, their small hands reaching for his indelight. For a moment, the weight of destiny seemed lighter, replaced by a sense of joy he had rarely felt in his life. But the peace was fragile. Guards patrolled the palace more frequently, their eyes wary. Servants whispered of unusual gatherings of nobles at night, of secret meetings where rumors of rebellion spread like wildfire. Elias could feel the tension in the air, a storm waiting to erupt. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the city, Elias and the girls walked along the palace balcony, looking out over the glowing towers. "Father," the older girl said softly, using the word with certainty. "Why do they not like you? Some of the people here want to hurt you." Elias sighed. "Not everyone understands me or humans. Some fear what they do not know. Some are angry that I exist in their world, but that does not mean we give up. We protect each other, no matter what." The younger girl looked up at him, her eyes shining. "We will protect you too. We are your children and you are our father." He smiled, feeling warmth in his chest. For all the danger surrounding him, these children had given him something precious: trust, love, and a reason to fight. But the eye warn of the elder. The Zirathi capital shimmered under the light of twin moons, but the beauty of the city could not hide the danger that now crept through its streets. Rumors of rebellion had grown louder each day, and the palace itself was no longer safe. "Captain." Elias Ward had spent every moment preparing, quietly observing the guards, learning the palace's layout, and ensuring the princess's daughters were safe. That night, the palace was unusually quiet. The servants moved in hushed tones, and even the guards seemed tense, glancing over their shoulders at every shadow. Elias walked through the corridors with the girls close behind him. He held their hands, feeling the small but firm grip of trust and love, their faith in him stronger than any fear. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the throne chamber. The sound of alarms rang out as shouting filled the halls. Elias's heart sank. He knew immediately that the rebellion had begun. "Stay behind me," he commanded. The girls nodded, their eyes wide but trusting. He moved swiftly, analyzing every corridor, every doorway. He could hear the clash of weapons, the hiss of energy blades, and the angry cries of attackers as they stormed the palace. The first wave of rebels appeared in the main hall. They were armed with strange weapons that hummed with energy, their eyes filled with hatred and fear of change. Elias did not hesitate. He grabbed a nearby guard's fallen energy baton and blocked the first strike, using his human reflexes and instincts honed through years of survival. The daughters clung to each other, crying out as one of the rebels lunged toward them. Elias reacted instinctively, shoving the attacker aside and taking the girls into a protective stance. His movements were precise, fueled by adrenaline and determination. He did not know if he could defeat them all, but he would die trying to. Keep the children safe. Princess Serenia appeared at the balcony above, her expression a mixture of fear and awe. She watched as Elias moved among the rebels, using strategy, agility, and courage to protect her daughters. Her heart wavered. Could she really have doubted this human, this stranger, who now fought with such determination to protect her children? The first wave of rebels was repelled, but more were coming. Elias realized that the palace defenses alone would not hold them. He needed a plan, and fast. He led the girls through secret passageways he had discovered the previous days, navigating tunnels and hidden corridors known only to the palace staff and the royal family. They emerged in a small courtyard, where moonlight reflected off fountains and statues. Elias paused, listening. The sounds of battle were distant here, but the danger was far from over. "We must keep moving," he whispered. The girls nodded, trusting him completely. As they moved, they passed through a hall where the royal advisors had gathered in panic. Some looked ready to flee, others were frozen in fear. One advisor approached Elias, desperation in his eyes. "Captain Ward, you must lead the children to safety. I will hold them off." Elias nodded. "Do what you can, protect the princess." The advisor rushed forward, intercepting another wave of rebels. Elias continued with the girls, moving deeper into the palace's inner sanctum. He could feel the tension rising, the threat of the rebellion growing stronger. Every corner could hide danger. Every shadow could conceal an enemy. Finally, they reached a small chamber near the palace's outer wall. It was simple, secure, and overlooked a landing platform for ships. Elias looked at the girls. "We're almost safe. Stay close to me no matter what happens." The younger girl nodded, her small hands gripping his arm tightly. The older one, more composed, glanced up at him. "Father," she said softly, "you are braver than anyone I have ever known. You will protect us, won't you?" Elias smiled faintly, though his mind raced. "I will protect you. Even if the world tries to tear us apart, I will not let anything happen to you." Just as he finished speaking, a final wave of rebels broke through the outer hall, rushing toward them. Elias braced himself. This was it, the moment where courage, skill, and determination would decide their fate. He fought with everything he had, blocking strikes, dodging blows, and using his human ingenuity to outmaneuver opponents who relied on strength and numbers alone. The battle raged around them, but Elias remained focused on the girls, shielding them with his body, deflecting attacks, and keeping them out of harm's way. For every rebel that fell, another took their place, but Elias never faltered. He realized that humans, though short-lived and seemingly fragile, had a spark that aliens could not always match: quick thinking, adaptability, and a will that refused to break. Finally, the last of the rebels retreated, their numbers broken, their morale shattered. The courtyard was littered with fallen weapons and debris, but Elias and the girls were unharmed. Exhausted, they sank to the ground, gasping for breath. Princess Serenia appeared, descending the stairs quickly. Her face was pale but determined. She looked at Elias, then at her daughters, and a new understanding filled her eyes. "You have done more than I could have imagined," she said quietly. "You saved them. You saved my daughters." Elias rose slowly, dusting himself off. "I could not let anything happen to them. They trust me. I trust them. That is enough to fight for." Serenia nodded, her heart softened. She realized that the human before her, the one she had once condemned to death, had proven his worth in ways the law could not measure. Courage, loyalty, and love, qualities she had never fully believed humans possessed, were alive in him. The elder approached, his eyes filled with respect. "Captain Ward, you have shown what humans are capable of. The Empire may not understand yet, but your actions will be remembered. You have protected the heirs, and that is no small feat. Elias looked at the girls, their faces bright with relief and trust. "It was them who gave me courage," he said softly. "Without them, I would not have fought as I did." The palace was quiet again, but the danger was not over. The rebellion had been temporarily defeated, but the whispers of discontent, of envy, and of fear would continue to echo through the halls. Elias knew that more challenges awaited. But for now, he allowed himself a brief moment of triumph. He had survived. He had protected the children. And in doing so, he had earned a place in the hearts of the princess and her daughters, a human who had proven that courage, love, and determination could change the fate of an empire. The twin moons shone down on the city, casting silver light on the palace spires. In that light, Elias Ward stood tall, not as a prisoner but as a protector. And though the road ahead was uncertain, he knew one truth. He would face whatever came next, for the sake of the children who had claimed him as their father. The sun rose over the Zirathi capital, casting a golden light across the floating spires. The city was tense, the air thick with whispers of unrest. The rebellion had been defeated once, but Elias Ward knew it was far from over. The loyalists were strong, but enemies still lurked, plotting in shadowed corners of the palace. He stood with the princess's daughters on the balcony, overlooking the city. The girls held tightly to his hands, their trust in him unwavering. Elias felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him, but also a sense of determination. He had come this far. He would not fail now. "Father," the older girl said softly, "will we be safe today?" Elias looked down at her, meeting her eyes. "I will do everything I can to protect you. Stay close to me no matter what happens." The younger girl clung to his leg. "We trust you, Father. Please don't let anything happen." Elias smiled faintly, feeling warmth in his chest. Their faith was a shield stronger than any wall or weapon. Suddenly alarms blared through the palace. From the city below, a dark force approached, a large group of rebels, more organized and dangerous than before. They had not been defeated. They had only been waiting for the right moment. The city itself shook with the sound of marching and strange humming weapons. Elias took a deep breath. "We have to act. There's no time to wait." He quickly led the girls through hidden passageways he had memorized, preparing for the confrontation. His mind raced, calculating the best way to protect them and confront the attackers. As they emerged into the central hall, the first wave of rebels broke through the outer doors. Elias moved swiftly, guiding the girls behind columns and walls. His reflexes and strategy allowed them to avoid harm, even as energy weapons hummed dangerously close. He realized that to survive, he would have to confront the rebel leaders directly. Using his human ingenuity, he created diversions, flipping tables, triggering alarm crystals, and using light reflections to confuse their attackers. The rebels, though strong, were not used to tactics like these. Their advantage in numbers began to diminish. The princess watched from a safe distance, awe filling her eyes. The human she had condemned to death weeks ago was now the center of the palace's defense. His courage, quick thinking, and determination kept her daughters safe. For the first time, she truly understood the strength humans could possess. Finally, Elias faced the leader of the rebels, a tall Zirathi with a cold, sharp glare. They circled each other in the hall, weapons raised. The fight was intense, but Elias's speed and adaptability gave him the edge. He dodged, blocked, and countered, turning the rebel leader's own momentum against him. With one final move, Elias disarmed the leader and forced him to his knees. Around them, the remaining rebels hesitated, seeing their leader defeated. Elias lowered but kept his eyes sharp. "Leave,"